Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a specific feeling. You know that feeling when you walk into a room where everyone is shouting, but they're all shouting in a language you only half understand?
Oh, yeah. That is a very specific kind of anxiety.
It is, isn't it? And that is exactly what the last few years have felt like when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
It's everywhere. It's in the news, it's in our software updates, it's at the dinner table with the family, and the volume is just, turned up to 11.
It really is. And the problem isn't just the volume, I think. It's the signal-to-noise ratio.
Yes.
You have this massive wall of noise, and it seems to be oscillating wildly between two very extreme, very emotional poles.
Right. On one side, you have let's call them the techno-utopians.
Sure.
The AI is going to fix everything crowd. They're telling us we'll never have to work again. Diseases will vanish, and we'll all just be living in this, I don't know, post-scarcity paradise of leisure.
Sounds great.
It sounds great, but it also sounds like magic.
Which is dangerous, right? Because if you think it's magic, you don't bother learning how the trick works.
Exactly. You just sit back and wait to be saved.
Yeah.
But then, you open a different tab or you talk to a different friend and you get the complete opposite. The dystopian nightmare.
The robots are coming for your job.
The robots are coming for your job. Creativity is dead. Civilization is on the brink of collapse. It's panic mode.
And that is equally paralyzing. If you're terrified of the tool, you won't touch it. You'll just bury your head in the sand.
So you have one group waiting for magic and another group waiting for the apocalypse.
Exactly. And meanwhile, the technology is it's advancing.
Mm.
It doesn't care about the debate.
And that leaves this huge group of people in the middle. And I think this is who we're talking to today. Let's call them the learners.
I like that.
They aren't trying to build a new god, and they aren't building a bunker in their backyard. They're just professionals.
Right.
They're accountants, writers, managers, small business owners, and they're sitting there going, okay, but can this thing help me clear my inbox?
Can it write this quarterly report faster?
Or is it just going to make my life more complicated?
That is the most important demographic. It really is, the
True.
pragmatic middle. And that's our focus for this deep dive.
So our mission today is simple, but maybe a little ambitious. We are going to try to cut through all of that noise.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to explain AI to someone who is brand new to it, or maybe someone who has dabbled a bit but still feels like they're kind of faking it.
Fix it till you make it. Yeah.
We're not treating this as a sci-fi concept. We're treating it as a practical reality for the modern professional.
We're going to strip away the hype, ignore the philosophy for a moment, and look strictly at the mechanics and the utility.
Yeah.
How does it work, and what can it do for you?
And to do that, we are doing a deep dive into a book that came out recently in 2026, which I think really nails this grounded perspective.
It does.
It's called AI for Everyone, A Beginner's Guide to the Future, published by Productive Mind AI. Now, I have to be honest, when I first picked this up, I was expecting another, technical manual or some kind of manifesto.
Sure. Something really dry.
Yeah, exactly. But the premise is actually quite different.
It is. The core argument of AI for everyone isn't really about technology at all. It's about time.
Reclaiming time. That's the phrase that just kept coming up chapter after chapter.
Exactly. The author argues that we need a fundamental shift in mindset. We need to stop looking at AI as a synthetic human or a replacement for ourselves.
Which is where all that anxiety comes from.
That's the root of it. And we need to start viewing it as a logic-based tool. It's about intelligent automation. It's about looking at your workflow, finding the friction points, and asking, why am I doing this part manually?
Okay, logic-based tool. I have to stop you there for a second.
Go for it.
Because that sounds a little bit like corporate rebranding to me, It feels like they're trying to make us all feel better about a machine that can pass the bar exam by calling it a tool.
I get it. That's a fair skepticism.
Oh.
It certainly softens the image.
It does.
But the book makes a strong case that logic-based tool is actually a more accurate technical description than artificial intelligence.
How so?
Well, the word intelligence implies consciousness, right? Intent, understanding.
Sure.
Logic-based tool implies a system that processes inputs and produces outputs based on a set of rules.
Yeah.
And as we get into the mechanics, you'll see why that distinction really, really matters.
All right. I'm willing to be convinced. So here's our agenda for this deep dive. We are going to break this into a few main chunks.
Okay.
First, we are going to demystify the box. We're going to look at the math, not the magic. How does it actually work?
The nuts and bolts.
Second, we are going to do an audit. We're going to look at your daily life, the invisible work you don't even realize you're doing, and see where this tool might fit. And finally, we're going to talk about the safety nets. Because, as we'll learn, you can't just turn this thing on and walk away.
Not at all. It's a comprehensive roadmap, really.
Hmm.
Whether you are drowning in emails or just curious about all the buzz, this is about moving from being a passive observer to an active, informed user.
Okay, let's jump in. Section 1. Demystifying the box. What is AI, really?
The big question.
The source, as you said, defines it as sophisticated logic-based tools. But let's unpack that, because when I hear logic-based, my brain goes to, like, a spreadsheet.
Right.
Excel is logic-based. But something like ChatGPT feels like something more.
It feels more because the scale is so different, but the core principle is surprisingly similar. The source makes a really important distinction right in Chapter 1.
Okay.
It says we need to understand AI's core competencies. And there are 3 of them: pattern recognition, data processing, and rule following within defined parameters.
Okay, let's start with pattern recognition. That sounds simple enough, but give me an example of what that looks like in the wild outside of a chatbot.
Think about your email spam filter.
Right.
That is a very basic, very successful form of AI that we've all been using for, 20 years now?
Sure, I don't even think about it anymore.
Exactly. Now, does the spam filter hate spam?
It feels like it does. Or at least, I hope it shares my hatred for it.
It doesn't. It has no feelings at all. It doesn't know what a pharmaceutical ad is. It doesn't understand the concept of a scam.
So what is it doing?
It's just recognizing a pattern.
Yeah.
It sees certain words, maybe certain HTML formatting, certain types of sender addresses, the time of day it was sent. It matches that cluster of data points against a massive database of things people have marked as spam in the past.
So it's not reading the email and getting annoyed like I do. It's just looking at the shape of the data.
Precisely. It sees a shape that statistically correlates with trash, that's
Yeah.
pattern recognition. And modern AI, the stuff we call generative AI, is essentially doing that exact same thing, but on an infinitely more complex scale.
Okay, that makes sense. And this leads us to the part of the book that really gave me the biggest aha moment.
I think I know where you're going.
It's the section on the statistical foundation. This is where we have to talk about how a large language model, an LLM, actually writes.
Yes.
Because when I type a prompt into a chatbot and it writes back, it feels conversational. It uses emojis. It says, sure, I can help with that.
It mimics personhood.
It does. It feels like there is a person or at least a mind on the other end of the line.
And that's the Eliza effect. It's
Yeah.
our human tendency to attribute personality to anything that speaks our language.
Right.
But the book emphasizes this over and over again. AI does not understand your request. Not in the way you or I understand it. It doesn't have a concept of truth or humor or empathy or even the physical world.
So if it doesn't understand what I'm saying, how on earth does it give me a good answer?
It's doing math.
Math.
Specifically, probability.
Uh-huh.
Imagine a massive, multi-dimensional map. The book calls this a vector space.
Okay, vector space. Sounds like something out of Star Trek. What is it?
It's less complicated than it sounds. Imagine that every single word in the dictionary has a GPS coordinate. But instead of north, south, east, and west, the coordinates represent meaning.
Okay.
So the word cat is located very, very close to the word dog. They're in the pet neighborhood on the map.
And king is close to queen.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Terrace is close to France. Running is close to jogging.
Mm.
It maps words based on their relationships to each other.
So it's a map of context.
It's a map of context.
You
And
heard.
when you ask an AI a question, it isn't looking up the answer in an encyclopedia. It is calculating a path through that mathematical map. It's just looking for the word that has the highest statistical probability of being the next step on that path.
So if I type, the cat sat on the path, the AI isn't picturing a fluffy animal settling down.
Not at all. There's no picture in its head.
Hmm.
It's looking at its training data, which is basically a huge chunk of the internet, and it's calculating.
Right.
It sees that statistically, when the words "the cat sat on the earth" appear 90% of the time, the next word is mat. Maybe 5% of the time it's floor. It is highly, highly unlikely to be refrigerator or nebula because those patterns just don't exist in human language.
Just a prediction engine.
It is a very, very sophisticated autocomplete. But here is where it gets interesting, where we need to introduce a term the book mentions: temperature.
Temperature. Like, is the server overheating from all that math?
No, so that probably happens too. Temperature is a setting, a dial you can turn, that controls how creative or how risky the AI is allowed to be with that probability.
What do you mean by risky?
Well, if the temperature is set low, to 0, let's say, the AI will always pick the most likely word. The cat sat on the mat. every single time. It's safe, it's accurate, but it's really boring.
And if you turn the temperature up,
Then the AI is allowed to take risks. It might skip the top choice, Matt, and go for the 5th or 10th most likely choice instead.
okay.
So I might write, the cat sat on the existential dread of the afternoon.
Right, so that's where the creativity comes from.
Exactly.
Let's randomize math.
It's controlled randomness. And understanding this is absolutely crucial for anyone listening. It explains why AI sometimes hallucinates or just makes things up.
It's not lying.
It's not lying to you. It has no concept of lying. It's just predicting a pattern that looks correct, a sentence that sounds plausible, even if the facts within it are completely wrong.
It's prioritizing the flow of the sentence over the truth of the content.
You've nailed it.
Yeah.
And once you grasp that, it feels a lot less intimidating, doesn't it?
It really does. It also explains why it's so good at writing corporate emails.
Oh, absolutely. Corporate speak is the most predictable language on earth. Circle back, deep dive, synergy. The AI loves that stuff because the patterns are so strong and clear.
So if we accept this, that it's a tool for pattern recognition and probability, not a magic genie, how do we actually use it? And that brings us to section 2, the audit.
This is the practical meat of the book, where the rubber meets the road.
Chapter 2 starts with a bit of a call-out. The author claims that most professionals dramatically underestimate the volume of tasks they can automate. And I read that and thought, I don't know, I'm pretty aware of how busy I am.
We all think that.
But the book argues we are basically blind to most of it.
We are. The concept here is habituation.
Habituation.
Think about your commute to work. Do you remember every single time you hit the blinker? Do you remember every time you checked your mirrors?
No. I usually arrive at the office and wonder how I even got there. It's like I blacked out.
Exactly. You have habituated those actions. They are invisible to your conscious mind. The same thing happens at work.
I see.
We do these tiny repetitive tasks, sorting emails, scheduling meetings, formatting data in a spreadsheet, copying a name from a PDF and pasting it into a CRM.
Right.
We do them thousands and thousands of times. They become invisible. We don't even log them as work. They're just the friction of existence.
It's the admin tax we all pay just to be allowed to do our actual jobs.
That's a perfect way to put it. And because it's invisible, we don't think to automate it. We just assume it has to get done by us.
So the book warns against what it calls intuitive assessment.
Yes. You can't just sit back in your chair, stare at the ceiling, and guess, oh, maybe I should use AI for my invoicing. Because you will miss all the stuff you do unconsciously.
So how do we find the invisible stuff? The book proposes phase 1, comprehensive workflow documentation. And I have to say, the description of this sounded painful.
It is tedious. I won't lie to you or the listeners. It's not a fun afternoon.
No.
But it is absolutely necessary. The actionable step is that you must document your time allocation over a representative period, say 3 to 5 workdays. And I mean really document it every 15 minutes.
So not just 9.000 to 9.15 answered emails.
No, much more specific. 9.00 to 9.03, read email from client X, 9.03 to 9.45, open my calendar, check for conflicts, 9.05 to 9.08, email client back with 3 time options, 9.08 to 9.n, updated my project tracking spreadsheet. You need to break it down to the atomic level.
It's like keeping a food diary. You think you eat pretty healthy until you write down every single handful of chips you grab from the pantry.
That is the perfect analogy. Or budgeting. You think you know where your money goes, but then you look at the bank statement and realize you're spending $400 a month on streaming services you don't even watch.
Yeah.
You cannot automate what you haven't tracked.
So, okay, let's say the listener does this. They suffer through 3 days of tracking every single mouse click. What are they looking for in that log?
They're looking for patterns. You are essentially acting like the AI. You are doing pattern recognition on your own life.
Okay.
You're looking for tasks that trigger a specific question. Did this require my uniquely human brain?
Did this require empathy or strategy or complex, nuanced judgment?
Exactly.
And if the answer to that question is no,
then it is a candidate for the machine. And generally, once you do this audit, the book says you will find that the opportunities fall into 2 big buckets.
Right. And that's section 3, schedule management and content creation.
The 2 big ones.
Let's tackle bucket A first, schedule management. The book calls this the logic puzzle. And honestly, I feel like this is the bane of everyone's professional existence.
It is the universal problem, isn't it? Coordinating commitments, allocating your very limited time, dealing with last-minute cancellations. The book refers to it as a temporal coordination challenge.
Temporal coordination challenge.
Yeah.
That is a very polite, very academic way of saying my Tuesday is a dumpster fire.
It is.
I mean, I look at my calendar some days and I physically cringe. Does the AI actually understand that stress?
And see, that's the beauty of it. It doesn't. And that's why it's better at it than you are.
Okay.
You look at Tuesday and you feel guilt because you have to move a meeting with your boss. You feel anxiety about whether you'll have time for lunch. You feel social pressure.
All the baggage.
All the emotional baggage. The AI looks at Tuesday and just sees a grid with a collision error.
Yeah.
It has zero emotional baggage about rescheduling something.
So how does it solve that collision error?
It uses what Chapter 3 calls constraint satisfaction algorithms.
Okay, that sounds complicated.
Think of your calendar like a game of Tetris.
I can do that.
You have blocks of time meetings, deep work sessions, travel time. You have a limited grid your day. And you have constraints, which are the rules.
Like, I can't meet before 9 a.m. or I need 15 minutes between calls.
This project is priority 1. This meeting must include these 3 people. Those are all constraints.
Okay.
Humans are surprisingly bad at this math. We
What?
try to keep it all in our heads and we inevitably fail. The AI treats it as a pure logic problem. It just calculates, given these constraints, what is the mathematically optimal arrangement of these blocks?
So it's not trying to check in with Bob from accounting to see if he's in a good mood for a meeting. It just knows Bob's schedule fits at 2 p.m.
Right. And it can even use something called predictive duration modeling.
What's that?
This is really cool. The AI might notice a pattern from your time audit.
Here.
Every time you schedule a quick sync with the marketing team for 30 minutes, it actually lasts 45 minutes. Every single time.
So it sees the reality of the situation, not the intention.
Exactly. So the next time you try to schedule that meeting for 30 minutes, the AI might suggest blocking 45 instead, or it'll automatically build a buffer into the time after.
That's smart.
It's fitting blocks into slots based on data, not on your optimism.
That is actually incredibly relieving to think about. It takes the emotion and the awkwardness out of saying no or not now to someone.
It turns "I can't meet you" into "the grid is full." It's much less personal. It's just optimization.
Let's move to bucket B then. Content creation. This is the one everyone talks about. ChatGPT writing poems, Midjourney making art.
The sexy stuff.
Yeah. But for a professional, the book calls this the productivity imperative.
And that's because the landscape of our work has fundamentally shifted. We aren't just doing our jobs anymore. We are all content machines now. Even if you are an accountant, you are writing blog posts for LinkedIn to build your brand.
Yeah.
If you are a middle manager, you are writing motivational emails, policy updates, quarterly reviews, performance plans. We are constantly generating text.
It feels like we are drowning in drafts.
We are. And this is where NLP, natural language processing, and large language models act as what the book calls force multipliers.
Force multipliers. Explain that in this context.
Imagine you need to write a difficult email. You have to tell a client there's a delay on their project.
Okay, the worst kind of email.
The worst. You might stare at that blank white screen for 20 minutes, typing and deleting, agonizing over the tone. Does this sound too harsh? Too apologetic?
That's 20 minutes of completely lost productivity. The blank page syndrome.
Exactly. An LLM breaks that paralysis. You can just type in a prompt. Draft a professional email to client X explaining a 2-day delay on their project due to supply chain issues. Be apologetic but firm about the new deadline. The tone should be confident and professional.
And 3 seconds later, you have a draft.
You have a draft. Now, and this is a critical point we have to stress. Is it a perfect draft?
Probably not.
Probably not. It might be a little generic. It might be a little too flowery.
It might use the word synergy.
It will almost certainly use the word synergy. But you are no longer staring at a blank page. You are now an editor, not a writer.
That's a huge mental shift.
It's everything. It is so much faster to edit a B+ draft into an A+ email than it is to write an A+ email from a cold start.
So the AI provides the scaffolding, you just come in and decorate the house.
Precisely. It solves the inertia problem. It gets you from 0 to 60 instantly. Then you take the wheel and drive the car the rest of the way. The book emphasizes that these LLMs are trained on vast corpora of human text. They know the structure of a marketing email better than you do.
Right.
They know the rhythm of a press release. They've seen millions of them. Use that structural knowledge. Don't reinvent the wheel every time you have to write an email.
So we have the what is pattern recognition, we have the where, scheduling, and content. Now, section 4 deals with the how. How do we actually integrate this into our lives without going crazy? The book talks about designing an ecosystem.
This is chapter 5, and it addresses a very, very common mistake. The source warns against something it calls opportunistic accumulation.
Oh, which sounds like a fancy term for what I do every week.
Me too.
Downloading every cool new AI app you see on Twitter and hoping one of them magically fixes your life.
Guilty as charged. We all do it. Oh, this new AI summarizes your meetings. This one writes your tweets. This one organizes your vacation photos.
And suddenly you have 10 new subscriptions, 12 new passwords to remember, and your personal and professional data is scattered across the entire internet.
And crucially, none of the tools talk to each other. That is not a system. That is a digital junk drawer.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. The goal is what the book calls systematic architecture. You need to consciously design a workflow where the tools serve a specific function within a greater whole.
And the book uses a really powerful analogy here to explain how to think about that. It's about the division of labor.
Yes.
It distinguishes between the architect and the builder.
This is the core philosophy of the entire AI for everyone approach. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, take this concept. The AI's role is routine execution. The human's role is strategic and evaluative.
You become the architect. The AI is the builder.
Think about it in real life. An architect doesn't lay bricks. If the architect is down in the mud laying bricks, they aren't looking at the blueprints.
They're not checking if the walls are straight.
They aren't talking to the client about the overall vision for the house. They've lost the big picture.
And if the builder starts designing the house,
You may end up with a house that has no doors or a staircase that leads directly into a ceiling.
because the builder just follows the literal instruction, build stairs here. It doesn't ask the question, but where are these stairs supposed to go?
Exactly. The builder, which is the AI, will lay the bricks perfectly, one after another, all day long, without getting tired or bored or distracted. It loves laying bricks, but it needs the architect you to tell it where the wall goes.
This is a really helpful reframe for people who are worried about their jobs.
I think so.
If you are currently spending your day laying bricks, scheduling those emails, formatting that data, summarizing meeting notes, you are essentially doing the AI's job.
And you are wasting your potential as the architect.
You're wasting your human brain.
That is the hard truth of it. The value of human work is moving up the chain. It's moving from execution to strategy, from doing the thing to deciding which thing needs to be done.
And there is always a but. This leads us to the danger zone.
It does.
Section 5, the source calls it the paradox of automated accountability. And I have to say, this section scared me a little bit.
It should. It's a very real psychological trap that is incredibly easy to fall into.
Okay, the paradox of automated accountability. Break that down for us.
Here's the paradox in a nutshell. As AI gets better and better at doing the work, as the tactical execution becomes more and more flawless, human oversight becomes more critical, but at the same time, it becomes more difficult to perform.
Why more difficult? Because we get lazy.
Because we get comfortable. It's the autopilot trap.
Right.
Imagine a junior lawyer using an AI to help draft contracts. For the first month, they're nervous, so they check every single word. The AI is perfect.
Okay.
For the second month, they just skim it. Still perfect. By month 6, the AI has never made a single mistake. It's been flawless. So what does the lawyer do?
They stop reading it. They just trust it. They hit print.
Exactly. And that is the exact moment the AI hallucinates.
Of course.
On month 7, for whatever statistical reason, the AI inserts a clause referencing a law that doesn't actually exist, or it cites a ghost precedent, a court case that never happened.
But it looks real.
It looks completely real. The lawyer gave up their agency, so they didn't catch it. They filed a brief with the court. Now, who gets disbarred? The algorithm.
Oh, the lawyer does.
That's the paradox. The better the tool works, the more you trust it, and the more dangerous that trust becomes.
This connects directly to what the book calls, in Chapter 8, the accountability imperative.
It's the other side of the same coin. It's this concept of agency versus responsibility.
Okay.
In traditional work, accountability comes from agency. If I write a report myself, I know what's in it because I type the words. I have the agency, so I naturally have the responsibility. If there's a typo, it's my typo.
But with AI, you lose that direct agency. You didn't write the draft. You didn't place the calendar block. The machine did.
But, and this is the bumper sticker for the entire episode, you must retain the responsibility for the outcome.
You can delegate the task, but you cannot delegate the accountability.
That's it. If the AI messes up, you cannot stand in front of your client or your boss and say, oh, sorry, the robot did it.
Yeah, the LLM hallucinated my entire strategy is the new The dog ate my homework, it's not going to fly.
It absolutely will not fly. You are the professional in the loop. The tool is your responsibility. You sign your name to it, you own it, 100%.
Okay, so this is high stakes. We are using a tool that is statistically probable to be right, but not guaranteed to be right. We are psychologically prone to getting lazy because it's so good. So how do we stay safe? Section 6 touches on the ethical compass and some practical decision-making frameworks.
Chapter 7 focuses on ethics, and the big word there is transparency.
Transparency, that's another one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around. What does it actually mean in practice? Do I have to put a watermark on every single email saying partially written by ChatGPT?
Not necessarily. The book argues for what it calls contextual transparency. You don't need to declare that you're using a spell check or a spam filter. Nobody cares.
Right.
But if the core value of the work is being generated by AI, your stakeholders probably need to know. If you send a market analysis report that was 90% generated by an AI, your boss might need to know that.
Why? Not to devalue it, but...
Not to devalue it, but to understand the provenance of the data. It's about managing expectations and liability. If that report turns out to be disastrously wrong, they need to know how it was generated so they can fix the systemic issue.
And data privacy is the other much scarier side of that ethical coin. I think this is where most people unknowingly mess up.
It's a huge issue. Every single piece of data you feed into a public machine learning platform potentially carries ethical and legal implications.
So if you paste confidential client data or a patient's medical records or your company's proprietary code into a public chatbot to summarize it, what are you actually doing?
You are giving that data to the model for error.
You are training the model on your secrets.
You are effectively publishing that secret data to the company that owns the AI. You've lost control of it.
That is a terrifying thought. I can just imagine a lawyer pasting a confidential settlement negotiation into a chatbot.
And then 6 months later, the chatbot uses phrases from that settlement as a template for someone else's document.
Wow.
That is the nightmare scenario. So the rule here is incredibly simple. Never paste the secret sauce into the public box. Use secure, enterprise-grade tools that are private, or anonymize the data completely before you create a prompt.
Okay, let's get to the bonus section, which I really like. The implementation framework. I love this because I love a good flowchart.
Me too.
The source mentions a decision tree to help you decide what to automate and what not to.
It's a beautifully simple but effective filter. The golden question you have to ask for every single task on your audit list is this: is this task repetitive and pattern-based?
And if the answer is no.
Keep it human executed, full stop.
Well,
If the task requires empathy like delivering bad news to an employee,
right. Don't automate that.
please don't automate that.
Yeah.
If it requires high-level strategy like deciding whether to pivot the entire company, if it requires handling a unique, unforeseen crisis, do not give that to the robot.
And if the answer is yes, this task is repetitive and pattern-based.
Then it is a candidate for automation. But even then, you don't just flip a switch and walk away.
Yeah.
The source provides checklists.
I love the checklist. It makes it feel manageable.
They are lifesavers.
Yeah.
There's the pre-implementation checklist. Is this tool safe? Is it private? Do I understand the risks? And then, the most important one, the AI output verification checklist.
Which is basically a fancy way of saying, did you actually read the thing?
Essentially, yes. But it forces you to slow down. Check facts. Check the tone. Check for hidden biases.
What do you mean by biases?
The AI often has biases baked into it from its training data, which is, the internet. It might make assumptions about gender and job roles that are outdated or offensive. You have to be the human filter that catches those things.
So the workflow is audit your time, identify the patterns, run it through the decision tree, automate the logic, and then, and this is the crucial last step, verify the output.
That is the loop. Assessment, implementation, and verification. Over and over again.
We have covered a lot of ground here. We've gone from the math of vector spaces to the psychology of the invisible workload. We've talked about the architect and the builder, and we've covered the big warning, that accountability paradox.
It is a comprehensive journey. It really moves you from asking, what is this magic, to asking, how do I wield this tool responsibly?
As we wrap up, let's look at the outro, the synthesis. The source outlines a path forward.
It does. It talks about a phased approach.
Yeah.
You don't wake up tomorrow and automate your entire life. That would be chaos.
Right.
You start with phase 1, awareness and assessment. That's the time audit we talked about. Then phase 2, foundation building, getting the right secure tools in place. Then comes phase 3, integration, and finally phase 4, governance, managing the system you've built.
It's a slow, steady climb. It's not an overnight revolution.
And that brings us right back to the core philosophy of the whole book. AI is a tool, not a replacement.
It's a bicycle for the mind.
That's a great way to put it. It helps you go faster and further, but you still have to pedal and you still have to steer.
I love that. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final provocative thought. The source mentions the transformation ahead.
It does. And this is where it gets really interesting for me. Beyond the day-to-day productivity hacks.
Go on.
We spent the last hour talking about how to save time, how to use AI to clear your calendar, write the first drafts of your emails, do all the grunt work.
Great. We want that efficiency. We want that time back.
But here's the question the book leaves you with.
Yeah.
If you succeed, if you actually do this, if you successfully offload the 80% of your job that is just drudgery, what are you going to do with all the time you get back?
That is the scary question, isn't it? Because being busy is a great place to hide from the important stuff.
Exactly. If you aren't bogged down by scheduling meetings all day, you have no excuse not to do the hard work, the deep work, the strategic thinking, the mentoring of your junior colleagues, the genuine human connection with your clients.
The value of the future professional lies entirely in what the AI can't do.
That's it. If you use that saved time just to do more busy work, you've failed. You've just spun the hamster wheel faster. But if you use that time to be more human, to be more creative, to be more strategic, that is the transformation the book is talking about.
Wow. That is something to chew on. The robot can handle the logic. You have to handle the life.
Beautifully said.
So, to our listeners, here is your homework. Start phase 1 today or tomorrow. Document your time. Find the invisible work. And then ask yourself that big question. What would I do if I didn't have to do this anymore?
I can't wait to hear what people find.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.